Hey, welcome back to the Joe Silverback Show. I'm your host, Joe Bunton, and today we're going to be talking about fatherhood and masculinity. One of the first things I want to, I get a lot of emails about fathers who are talking about showing their emotional side, showing their sensitive side, their women wanting them to, be more sensitive, more like them. And all I can tell you is that those of you who are even thinking like this, pat yourself on the back. It's very, very good to be a compassionate, kind, caring, considerate man who wants to do his best and be able to contribute to parenting and to be a good father. After decades of being a father and after decades of researching this very topic, studying it, thinking about it in terms of the Silverback principle, thinking about it in terms of how is it done in nature, thinking about what we can learn from nature and what we can learn from culture. One of the things that is really, really funny, and you have to be able to look at it, it is really funny, is when one sex wants the opposite sex to be more like them. And I think part of growing up and part of becoming a whole adult human being, especially in a monogamous, heterosexual, bonded marriage, partnership, relationship, is coming to terms with the other and with the self, and with understanding that I am a man and I'm not a woman. My wife or my partner is a woman and not a man. And instead of trying to get her to be like me and her to get me to be like her, the ultimate achievement, I think, in Know Thyself is to let her be herself and to make sure she lets you be yourself. And that's up to you men to kind of set the bar there. So let's bring this in specifically into parenting, especially parenting in the early stages of infancy, and let's call it the first 3 years, maybe the first 5 years, and then we'll go into the first 7 years. So as a very, very emotionally giving and compassionate man, I was always very, very physical and physically tender with my kids, and I loved to carry them here. That's a very powerful thing. Now, what I had to come to understand is that in the beginning, I was trying to take the kid away to do my duty, to do my responsibility. Well, sometimes that's interfering with something that is really essentially a woman's domain. And a lot of times women are just flat out not wanting to do that. And so sometimes, we men have to take that on. But an ideal situation is that we just let our women be mothers, especially when they're young infants. They need to be with the mother more than they need to be with anybody. And then as we start taking that on to share that, we don't have to be mothers in order to carry our babies next to our hearts and our chests. We don't even have to be feminine, and we don't even have to emote like women do or be, quote unquote, more mother-like. We just have to be men. We have to own it. And that could mean that we're just totally silent as we walk with our son or our daughter, wrapped around us, close to our body. Today I was down at the seashore doing my writing, and I saw a young man with a probably 2-year-old, maybe 2.5-year-old, maybe two to 3 years old. He was, I think, old enough where he was talking and he was old enough where he was very calm and quiet, and the father was very calm and quiet, and the father wasn't trying to do anything with the son. He was just sitting with him down by the seashore, and then maybe walking with him. But he wasn't engaged in trying to entertain the child. And I need to express this as what I consider one of the most fundamentally critical distinctions between one aspect of being a man and a father and one aspect of parenting today. And that is, just let the kids flourish and find something on their own. And the sooner you let them do that, the sooner you stop thinking that you have to engage in their world and engage them in this and on that, and then pretty soon what happens is that they're addicted to the engagement from you, and then they can't do anything without you being there to engage them. So I do think that's a very important role of the man, taking our sons and daughters alone down by the seashore, alone down by the creek, alone in the backyard, on the grass, to just be without doing anything. Just let them be, let them explore. Maybe a bee comes and they like just to follow it around. Maybe they're at the seashore and their eyes train on a bird. There's a myriad things in the natural world that will stimulate our child's brains. So that's the essence of my message for all of us as fathers and grandfathers and uncles and helpmates, is that a child can get just as much from sitting on your lap, in your arms, holding your finger or walking, being at a close proximity to you while you say nothing, as he can when you are actively engaging him in trying to stimulate him. Now, what I like also, and I think is a really cool modeling thing, is for us to find something that we're engaged in. So if we're down at the seashore and we're engaged in digging a moat around us so the water can come in, or building a sandcastle, it doesn't matter. Just the engagement is a way of participating in childhood in a modeling way. But keep this big but in mind. The most important thing that a child needs to see from us is that we are happily stable in our partnership with his or her mother or father, that we are on purpose, engaged in our purpose, whatever that is, even if that means we're going to, what we consider a boring, dull job, but that boring, dull job pays for the roof over our family head, and that's our purpose in life. Or you're like me, where you're engaged in the creative arts and you love education and writing, or you love art and painting, or you love singing, or you have rock climbing as your passion. Your children will grow more from modeling than from you entertaining them. And I'm not sure entertaining helps them grow. I think a lot of entertaining stifles growth. So let's fast forward now. Those first 3 years, those first 5 years, those first 7 years, where the brain is so sensitive and the neurological system so sensitive, the most important things that we're trying to do in parenting is provide stability. Not entertainment, stability. Stable environment so our children can feel stable and secure. And when a child feels stable and secure, he can reach out for all kinds of tools and do all kinds of creative things. So now let's say that we have provided stability. The next thing is, how much is our pushing our children into something our responsibility, and how much is it their responsibility? So that's an ongoing discussion, but there is no doubt that having high standards for oneself is going to be something that a child will model, and having high standards in the home is something a child will model. And then whether or not you push your child or just trust that he will follow your high standards, I believe that it is our obligation to in a very heartfelt way communicate to our children that he or she will have a better sense of self-worth when he or she reaches for something that's important to him. It could be reaching for an A grade. It could be reaching for getting onto, the baseball team. It could be reaching for getting a college scholarship. It could be reaching for painting something that is inside that, is a work of beauty. And he needs the confidence and he needs the parameters to be confident to do that. But allowing children to feel comfortable with no accomplishment or very, very low level accomplishment, and then trying to, equate that with the kind of self-worth that they will have when they reach higher levels of accomplishment, they'll see right through it. All animals see right through it when you're bullshitting them. And human beings see a bullshitter faster than anybody. So the push-pull is an interesting dynamic, and I don't think it should ever go away. And one of the ways that I think is the best, especially as a man, is to have something that is driving you, and that if you really want your child to have something that drives him or her, they'll model what they see in their home. It's a pretty standard fare now to expect that kind of thing. And then my children now are between 19 and 29, and it comes a time where you've got to just clip the wings and say, hey, just through example, I'm not responding to all your calls. I'm not responding to all your last minute needs. Let them handle things. And one of the biggest things, again, I've talked about this a lot, is accepting that suffering is a part of life, and suffering is a part of growth, and suffering is the most powerful way in which human beings are forced to grow and develop. And if we over-mother or over-father to where we want to take away all the obstacles to suffering, that might be why 24, 25, 29, 30, your kid is still clutching onto you or hanging around the home too much. Namaste.